Hey, salam, and hello, my queen. This is LaYinka here. Now, before we dive into this episode of LaYinka Speaks, I just wanted to take a moment to extend a personal invitation to you as a woman of awesomeness. Now, I know you are a woman of awesomeness because you're listening to this podcast. And this space that I'm talking about is one where you can get to grow, where you can get to do some healing, and where you can really move forward in this journey of coming home to yourself. This journey of being a better version of yourself. Now, you might have already heard about it. It's the Homecoming Collective. And in the collective, it's where women just like you are taking action, speaking love into themselves, and investing in their healing, in their empowerment, and in their growth. Now, in this space, you can come exactly as you are right now, and it's where I and my team can support you to really move forward. And I know you really want to move forward. All you've got to do is go to layinkasanni.com/homecoming and take that step to being the you that you deserve to be. Okay, that's all from me, my lovely. I hope you enjoy this episode. One of the most oft requested topics for me to talk about on the LaYinka Speaks podcast is relationships, specifically male-female relationships, romantic relationships, marriage. And I think that talks to a lot, it speaks a lot to the struggles we have in our marriages, romantic relationships, and the mess we often find ourselves in, right? Now, straight off the bat, I just want to say, you guys and girls know that I am not a coach. Yes, you do know that because I've said it a gazillion times. I'm not a coach. And I'm specifically not a relationship coach. So when I think of relationships, especially when women come to me about, oh, my marriage this, oh, my husband this, and he did that, and what should I do, and can you give me advice? I always tell these ladies to first look at themselves. So I'm going to record this podcast with men and women in mind, because there are two parts to the relationship, two sides. Let's say the relationship is a coin. There are two sides to the coin, right? And often, when we talk about relationships and when relationship advice is given, it's always given just to the man or just to the woman. And I just want to talk to and speak about just the human experience of relationships. And the fact of the matter is that relationships reveal the most vulnerable side of us. And also they are a mirror of the areas of us that need healing. Your relationships, and not just romantic relationships, all our relationships, a relationship with your parents, relationship with your siblings, family members, relationship with your friends, relationship with your co-workers, etc., etc. They reveal to us the areas that need healing and reflect that to us. The issue with us most of the time is that we're so busy reacting, we're so busy getting triggered, we're so busy being defensive that we don't actually allow ourselves to get curious. I was in conversation with someone recently, and we were talking about triggers. And I said to her, hands down, I know that one of the relationships that triggers me the most, and some of my and some of the old wounds that I've had from childhood, are my children. Hands down. Hands down, my children. And they mirror to me my wounds. They mirror to me pain that I've endured. Not because they are like bad kids and they do bad things, or they're out to get me and they're out to ruin my life. But it's interactions that we may have that trip up a wound from childhood that causes me to have a response, either the fight response, the flight response, or the fawn response, or the freeze response. I'm not going to go into all of these like in depth, because at the end of the day, this is not meant to be a teaching podcast. It's just meant to be a monologue. A monologue and a trail of thought. But it's interesting for us to, and it's important, I feel, for us to get real about ourselves, because often we're so focused on looking at the other parties, right? We're so focused on looking at what she said, or what he said, or what they did, or what they didn't, and we're not paying enough attention to ourselves and where this is coming up for us within us. So when you are getting mad at someone, yeah, and you're hella mad, you're upset, you're hella triggered, you're so focused on what they said, how they said it, what they did, that you're not looking at yourself. And I know that there are some people who are going to be triggered, right? And you're listening to this and thinking, yeah, but they should speak to me with respect, and they should treat me with respect and dignity and love and care and consideration and kindness. And yes, I am not dismissing that. I'm not denying that. I'm not saying that isn't the case. Yes, you do deserve those things, and you want to look at yourself too. Because where you're getting mad at someone, where you're getting upset with someone, where you're getting frustrated with someone, often it's just a mirror, it's just a mirror for something that's going on inside you. Okay, so let me give you an example so that you can legit hear me in what I am saying. Okay, for a personal example, so my eldest daughter, we've had some run-ins about a particular issue for a while, yeah, and she's got her right for privacy, so I'm not going to expose what it was or what it is, because that's between me and her. But we've had a particular run-in with a particular issue for a while. And I would always find myself getting frustrated and getting not upset, but just getting frustrated. And is this girl even listening to what I'm saying though? Why do I need to say the same thing a gazillion times? I've said it to you. I say it almost every single friggin' night. Why? And I find myself getting riled up, saying the same thing. And you know what's crazy? I sat down with my journal and I examined this. I examined where this was really coming from, what wound it was tripping up for me, what was really being triggered. And you know what I've discovered? I discovered that me having to say the same thing over and over again, me saying things to my daughter and her not seemingly listening or hearing me, triggered the feeling of not being heard and seen as a child. Yep, blew my mind too. It triggered that feeling, that old wound of not feeling seen and not feeling heard in childhood. And so as I was reflecting, I'm thinking, dang, all this time I'm thinking I'm getting mad about this particular issue and I'm getting riled up. But really that what was triggering me was the feeling that I'm not being seen in this conversation. I'm not being heard in this conversation. Why doesn't she hear me? Why isn't she hearing me? And you know what? I reflected on the fact that she is hearing me. She's hearing me loud and clear. But because I'm not getting the response that I want, I'm deciding that I'm not being heard and seen. And it led me to just sit and deep it for a moment and look at myself and check myself and ask myself, but LaYinka, are you seeing and hearing her? Ooh, you know what? I needed a moment there, because I was like, girl, you're so caught up in the vortex of your feeling like you're not being seen and heard, that you are giving her the very same treatment that you were wounded by. Yes, moment of enlightenment, yo. Moment of serious enlightenment. And so this is what I mean. So I started this conversation talking about relationships, specifically romantic relationships. But you know what? It's all across the board. It's all across the board that our relationships expose to us our wounds. They expose to us the areas that we really need to deepen our healing, to deepen our understanding, to deepen our compassion and grace for ourselves, truly. And so just listening to this, I want you to just spend some time with yourself and just reflect on relationships where you are most triggered, and what is really being triggered within you, not what they are triggering. Yeah. Take ownership. What is being triggered in you, and where did that come from? Where is that familiar? Where is that familiar? So this trigger, this wound, this area of frustration, what does it remind you of, especially from childhood? Because it's your inner child. It's your inner child right there who is just wounded. And that response is the response that you are so accustomed to having. So yeah, that's that's one to really mull over. That's one to really mull over, to sit with, to journal through. Journaling is like, if you've been listening for a while, you know that journaling is bae. Journaling is life. And it really supports you to get clarity once you are working things out on pen to paper. And just get curious about your relationships, and where you get triggered the most, and what that's really the message that's really sending to you.